Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here at my next Pokemon video. I've been calling these videos Pokemon Talk, so we're going to continue that. This is going to be Pokemon Talk about the CoroCoro magazine new info, basically. This came out basically the day after E3 ended, so along with all that information we got even more. So this news basically is all about some information about your rivals, friends early on in the game, the first gym leader, and then 4 new Pokemon. So I don't really want to mention too much about the rivals and stuff like that because there's not much to really say about them since, obviously we haven't seen too much of them. The interesting thing is that there appears to be a lot of kind of these people early on in the game, like you appear to have more than just the usual 2, which is interesting. But anyway, the first gym leader is named Viola. She appears to be a bug trainer based on what her gym looks like, and I think they show that in the new trailer that we got as well. Um, but anyway, if that's interesting. If Bug is the first gym, that means that if you choose Chespin, you're at a disadvantage, grass type. You choose Fennekin, you're at an advantage, being fire type, and then Froakie's the neutral option, I think. So it probably doesn't matter too much unless you are one of those people who just plays Pokemon by just training the starter Pokemon and then catching other Pokemon for HMs or stuff like that. But more than likely, as is usually the case, there's a Pokemon that's super effective against the gym caught the route before, basically. So more than likely that Pokemon is going to be Fletchling, the flying normal type at the start, and then it'll evolve into firefighting. So that's a perfect Pokemon to counter bugs, if that indeed is indeed the case. But anyway, getting into the new Pokemon. 4 new Pokemon, though one of them we knew a little bit about before. Anyway, the first 2 that we get are the pre-evolutions of Virillion, the new butterfly Pokemon. Now, we have the basic Pokemon who is Scatterbug. It just says that, the English description says that, String Shot, which we know about before. And you can see the image of that there. Reasonably nice for a bug Pokemon. Kind of mixed between, Caterpie, Weedle, that type of Pokemon, but it is quite unique in itself. Scatterbug evolves into Spewpa, who you can see here. Now, it is the classic thing for these butterfly Pokemon that they evolve from Caterpillar to a slightly armored kind of cocoon caterpillar type thing. And this is interesting in that it has a stiff fur covered body and it knows Protect, which obviously defensive Pokemon in this state, that's what they'd like to do. Looks reasonably nice as well. Kind of the main thing is like, is this line of Pokemon going to have a signature move? Because there seems to be these kind of like cube things floating around it in both forms, especially the Spewpa form, and then obviously in the Virillion, it has these kind of square things on its wing. So I'm kind of expecting there to be some form of a new interesting attack. But other than that, it doesn't say too much about it. It said that there is a secret behind the colourful descriptive pattern on Virillion's wings, which it uses to scatter its scales or create a strong wind to attack. So, not really sure what to say there, but something interesting is probably going to come. Anyway, next Pokemon is Litleo. The name is a bit odd, Litleo or whatever. Either it makes sense. Lit, fire, kind of like Leo line. But this is what it looks like. And it's obviously a kind of fire, kind of line cub Pokemon, which I think looks really cool. Now it's confirmed that it's the fire and normal type, which I can't think off the top of my head if we actually had one of those before. Um, I'm not gonna just straight out say that it's a brand new type, but it's definitely unique. I think in that it's not a really kind of like usual typing anyway. Fire normal, and just because of that, that kind of has me leaning towards this thing being maybe a bit more physically offensive rather than specially offensive because most normal type moves, well, good normal type moves like are physically based. So like this thing possibly having like double edge or something like that. Obviously, if this thing evolving into some sort of big line we expect, it having like double edge and like flare blitz or something like that would make sense. Uh, that's pretty sounds interesting. I think this is definitely the best looking, one of the best looking Pokemon we've got so far. It's like a cute looking in its base form, but definitely I can see this thing evolving into a kind of Arcanine-esque kind of Pokemon. Obviously more line based, but something like that. That sort of Growlithe to Arcanine style evolution in terms of the look. But yep, definitely some very interesting stuff here. It said that it knows the new normal type move, Noble Roar, which says it intimidates targets and lowers their special attack stat. Now, I'm not really sure what like that means, because like the ability intimidate lowers the attack stat anyway, and then it also lowers their attack stat. So, is that just saying that like in Pokemon in the world this move like intimidates Pokemon, and then in the game it lowers their attack stat, or does intimidate actually do something else? I'm not sure, because I suppose the main thing is like, I think it's Growl. I'm not used to using those kind of weaker kind of stat lowering moves. I think Growl lowers the attack stat one stage. So is this going to be like lower two stages because it says it's useful against strong opponents, or is it going to be something that like stops their opponent attacking next turn? Who knows? That would probably be way too powerful. Either way, new move, Noble Roar, makes sense for these kind of lion type Pokemon. Final Pokemon is a new fairy type Pokemon called Flabebe. Flabebe, yeah, it's kind of French. It's Flabee accent, Be accent, and it looks very interesting, as you can see here. At first, when I saw this thing, I was like, "That's a very interesting Pokemon." It's actually is a flower with like a head in the middle, and then I was like, "Oh, that's just a little fairy thing on a flower." Then I read the description, I was like, that's a pretty interesting idea for a Pokemon. The fact that these things, like, it's born and then chooses chooses a flower which it cares about for its whole life, and it states in the description that there's going to be loads of different types of these flowers that it can get, so it's going to look very differently. It knows the move Fairy Wind, and obviously it's super effective against dragons. But that sounds interesting. Makes sense. This is a fairy Pokemon. I think that's like a classic kind of fairy tale folklore. Tiny fairies among the flowers. Makes sense. It'll be interesting to see if that evolves and what it evolves into. But either way, some very nice Pokemon here. Litleo, definitely one of my favourites of the new ones I've seen so far. I think that has a lot of potential. Definitely looking forward to see more on him anyway, at least. And I suppose we get our first kind of full evolution line confirmed here through Scatterbug, Spupa, and Virillion. But either way, that's all the news there is here. Link to this description from PokeBeach is in the description. So thank you for watching this video, and bye.